This week, I'm going to replay the number 1 or 2 most downloaded episodes in the history of my podcast. This was recorded way back in December of 2018. So forgive the stuttering, the lack of clarity, but this episode rings true now more than ever. If you're interested in starting a company, these are the critical tools that you can use to start the business. Enjoy.
People do business with people that they like. Okay, so many people forget that there is a personal and an emotional aspect of business of every kind. Okay, so if you're likable and you can earn trust, you can have a huge advantage. So many people are turning into robots. So many salespeople are just going through the motions, and so many customer service reps are grumpy and robotic. All right, let's take the cold email as an example. I get hundreds of these each year from someone who wants to sell me or my business something. Okay, all of these emails, all they ask for is 15 minutes of my time. I've only ever responded to one of them. One email got me on the phone for 15 minutes. Here's the difference. As the owner of a company, my name is all over Google. You can read about my track and field career in college. You can read about me and where I'm from on the About Us page of my website. Okay, you can see that I have a baby son. You can read what my favorite hobbies are. You can read what I like to do and what my favorite sports teams are. Only one person who has ever sent me a cold email to sell me something took the time to find out something about me. One person. I was so surprised and flattered that I actually read the rest of his email and went to his company website and looked at the services that they offered. Okay, you read self-help books all the time about how to be more likable, how to make it so people enjoy being around you, how they feel comfortable around you. 2 of my favorite books here are The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey and How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Highly recommend both those reads. The number one theme of all these books is always the same. Show a genuine interest in the other person. Find out what makes them tick. Find out what they're interested in. Find out what they're excited about. What gets them out of bed in the morning. If you can do that and you can be genuinely interested in learning about other people, you will instantly have a huge advantage in business and in life. Not only will you have a huge advantage, but it'll be fun. You never know what you're going to get. So many people are into so many different things. It's incredible the things you can learn about people if you just ask a few simple questions. So it goes without saying that there's a balance here. Don't get creepy. Don't stalk their family members on Facebook. Read the info that's out there. Think of a thoughtful question. Get a little bit of a discussion going about them. Congratulate them on a recent win. If they share that they have a new baby, remember the name. Next time you speak to them, ask about the little guy. So this isn't just applicable in business to business, in-person meetings or cold emails. It's applicable in every interaction that you have with a customer. It's applicable in the way you lay out the About Us section of your website. Paint a picture and make people like you. It's applicable when your customer service reps or you answer the phone. Are you energetic? Are you excitable? Are you going to take an extra 5 minutes to ask them a little bit about themselves? It's easy to find out if they're not into this. You can move right through your sales pitch, okay? But once you're likable, you have an advantage. Trust me. Okay, so let's talk a little bit of marketing now. We're going to start with the early days, okay? Before you get momentum, before your website is showing up on Google, before you have some trust, a brand. At first, you're on a tight budget. You're hustling. It is key that you get on the ground and scrap. You're working. So order a bunch of flyers. Get on the ground. Get sidewalk chalk and write some advertisements where a bunch of people are walking. If there's a big event in town and a lot of people are coming, get some sidewalk chalk down. Stand out there with flyers. Okay, get creative about how you reach your target market. If you're starting a pool service company, get on Google Maps and find the houses that have pools and go knock on the door. Get out where the upper class people who have pools are hanging out and talk to people, meet them, advertise to them. If you're a lawn care provider, you know only people who have a lot of disposable income are going to pay to get their lawns mowed. Get in those neighborhoods, knock on doors, and put some flyers out. Talk to people. Okay, you're a loan officer, you're writing loans, watch the MLS, go to the open houses, meet people who are about to buy a house. You know where your market is. Get out there and find them in creative ways. Meet realtors and get some trust among the realtors because they are the real salesmen for the loan officers. Okay, any kind of home services. Find the people who are just moving to town, just bought their first house, watch the MLS, show up at the house and leave a flyer, a knob on the door. Find a local bakery and make a deal with them. Help promote their cupcakes too. They'll probably give you free cupcakes to take with you when you're knocking on the doors of new people who just moved to town. They want to get the word out as well. I could go on and on. Get creative. Get in front of your customers. We're talking about nights and weekends, grinding, working super hard to get the word out. Now, a side note, don't forget your Google My Business location. Don't forget to put a lot of media on this, nurture this, and get some reviews on there. Work hard for those reviews. All right, so the second thing about marketing that I want to talk about is get in the mindset of adding value first. Part of this is through content creation, YouTube, blog, and social media. Are you a financial advisor? Write a bunch of awesome information about managing finances on your website. Give away as much information as you can for free. Create great content and give it away. Get a following. Be worth following. Create a brand, create some trust, and then leverage that to begin selling. Okay, are you a contractor? Create a YouTube channel and go through the process of what you do, all the methods you use, all the tips and tricks in the book. Give it all away for free. Get a following, leverage that, and sell. Any service that you're offering, the steps are the same. Create great content, give it away, get a following, leverage that, and sell. So Gary Vee, I'm sure you've heard of him. He's an entrepreneur, a very popular name in media and public speaking. He has a podcast about digital marketing and entrepreneurship. His family started winelibrary.com, and he was the wine enthusiast. He caught a big break. He made a video, how to decant wine, and he got 38,000 views on it in the first couple weeks, and there was a link below to it, to his winelibrary.com. People clicked it. People bought wine, and the momentum behind his brand got started. Now he's worth $200 million. He has hundreds of other videos that got 50 views or less. Okay, make content, give away your knowledge, catch a break, get a following. The other half of this is adding value when you speak to potential customers. Don't be afraid to share and help even if they're not going to buy or you're not sure if they're going to buy. Don't be afraid to give away some information that might be part of your package. Add value first. This will instantly instill trust between your customers and you. Don't hold it tight to your chest, share it. Okay, if you're a pest control person, don't be afraid to tell them what chemical you use and what schedules you like to do that would help them with their infestation problem. Yeah, you run the risk of them going and buying it and doing it themselves, but you instantly get trust, you instantly differentiate yourself, and they're way more likely to choose you, recommend their friends to you, and you're more likely to win. So a great example of this, I have a friend who owns a wealth management company. He makes his living by advising really, really rich people on how to avoid taxes and manage their assets and their companies. He has a unique approach. He goes into every sales meeting with a prospective client with the goal to give away as much information and add as much value as humanly possible. He goes in trying to help them right away. All of the advice he would usually charge for, he gives it away right off the bat. Well, I asked him one day if he ever worries about people taking notes and going to their accountants and doing all this themselves. He said, yeah, sure, that's a risk, but what ends up happening is that I differentiate myself from my competitors and I gain trust in the potential client. Most of the time, we bring on the client on the spot, and if not, they usually come back 6 months later when they need more advice, and we start our relationship then. It's a win-win. Look at Dave Ramsey. He has built an absolute empire by giving away his advice and preaching his principles for free all over the radio and anywhere where people would listen. He gains people's trust that way. He adds value first and then worries later how to reap the rewards. These people are so loyal and they're so bought into what Dave teaches that they gladly purchase his books and his classes for themselves and all their friends. It's brilliant. This is applicable to so many areas. A home service business might give away the first service to gain some trust and get a following. If you manage cost per click or pay-per-click advertising for companies, do a little bit of research on that business, write down some tangible ideas that they can implement right off the bat, go into the sales meeting and present this stuff to them. Give them some real value right off the bat. They'll be way more likely to trust you and sign you on and work with you. So there's always a fear, especially in small, young companies, that you really have to capitalize on each early sale to validate your model, feed your family, make a little bit of money. So you end up trying to milk everything out of your first couple clients or your first customer right off the bat. You can differentiate yourself by thinking differently here. Okay, now learn who your perfect customer is. As you grow, as you get momentum, as you make your first few hires, as your company grows, Learn the market and develop your competitive advantage. Find your niche. Specialize a bit more. Learn everything about your target market. And when I say target market, I'm talking about the 20% of your customers that add 80% of your value. The customers where you're most profitable. Maybe it's the ones with a disposable income. Find out who they are. Find out who is in your wheelhouse as a business. Learn everything about them. Know their income levels. Know where they live. Know what events they attend. Know where their kids go to school. Find them, get in front of them, market to them, and sell to them. There's a great tool out there called Google Trends, trends.google.com. What you do here is you type in a keyword and it shows the relative search volume over the past year from 0 to 100. The busiest times of the year, it's every couple of weeks, it has a dot on the graph. The busiest times of the year are higher and the slow times are lower. You can also compare other terms and it shows the relative search volume between those two terms and groups of terms, words, phrases, sentences. So use this to explore and learn your market. You will see when the searches are the highest through the year. You can use this information to focus your marketing around that time period. You will also be able to learn what keywords are more popular and have more volume and at what times of the year they're more popular. So you can develop your SEO and your website. You can focus on these keywords that are the most popular. Use this to gauge the relative size of your competitors by typing in their names. You can learn a little bit about their businesses as well. The opportunities are endless here and you can get creative with the way you utilize it. Target your Facebook and your AdWords ads to those people. Target your media to them. Target your free content to them. Push hard on that target market and you'll get rewarded on your marketing spend. Okay, one more thought here is think about being famous to the right 3,000 people. That's all you need. The right 3,000 people is plenty of people. This is the idea from Seth Godin. He says it all the time. Find the right group of people, the group of people that you specifically design your service around. That's all you need to thrive. This gives you an unbelievable advantage. You don't compete on price. You don't have to train your employees to be good at 20 things. You can train them to be phenomenally good at 1 or 2 things. You can focus on this market. It's not a race to the bottom. You're not competing on price. And most importantly, you can tell certain people that this service is not for you. Thanks for the feedback. I appreciate that, but I didn't design this for you. I didn't build this business for you. You can ignore everybody else. So I got a phenomenal question on the last episode where we talked about the 80-20 rule and finding your wheelhouse and focusing on that. I'm really excited to answer this. Great question. Thank you so much for sending. So it's a 3-part question. Number 1, wouldn't it increase the concentration risk if 20% of your customers are generating 80% of your profit? How can you avoid this? Number 2, if 80% of your customers have the potential to provide even bigger profit in the future, we're talking about the people not in the wheelhouse, isn't it just fine to focus on them and focus on them as well because they eventually might lead into the 20%? And the last part, is it true sometimes that a more general offering can provide an edge for the company? For example, a contractor, 80% of the profit would be from the home renovation, but by providing a side project a side service like interior design, it will allow them to acquire more customers for their main wheelhouse, their 20%. Now, part 1 of this question is the concentration risk. Is it more risky if 20% of your customers generate 80% of your profit? Why should you focus here? And my response is that it's much more risky to not focus on this 20% of your customers who are generating 80% of your profit. Why? Because you risk losing sight of what they need. You risk losing them. If you don't cater to them, if you don't put your energy on them, you could lose them. Okay, if you're worried about catering to the other 80% that gives you 20% of your return, the golden goose could die. Your wheelhouse is being ignored and you could lose these big dogs. So the goal and my point in this last episode was to get more of the customers that are in that wheelhouse. They are the 20%. They are the 80% of your revenue. They're the 20% of your customers that make 80% of your profit. If you target your sales, if you target your marketing, and if you target your service, and it all revolves around these people, you'll get more of them. And more of them means more profit. More of them means more diversification. And more of them means way more growth. Okay, more of them means you are more specialized. You're focusing on them, so you're not going to lose them. The bottom line is this is much less risky. Now, part two, if some of that 80% that generates 20% of the profit has the potential to move into the 20% sector, shouldn't you continue nurturing that? The answer here is absolutely, but not at the expense of your wheelhouse. Don't focus on what could be and lose sight of what is. Don't diversify to nurture the 80%. Don't focus your sales and marketing on the 80%. Don't change your operations based on them. And don't train your employees based on what they need. Okay, I'm not very good at predicting the future. By all means, you should spend time in quadrant 2 and look at the big picture. If all signs are pointing to really an increase in value in some of these members of the 80%, then focus on them. But don't do it at the expense of your wheelhouse. And the last part of this question, is it sometimes true that a more general offering can provide an edge for the company? For example, a contractor, 80% of the profit would be from home renovation. That's the wheelhouse. But by providing interior design, it will allow them to acquire more customers for the wheelhouse, for renovation. So there is a time when being a generalist can have an advantage. And that's early on in your startup's life. Building the brand, building the trust, gaining momentum, learning the market, experimenting, that can all make perfect sense. Other times, when the side hustle, when the side offerings are simple and easy to deliver, it makes sense to keep them on board. Take a loss by offering them and use it to funnel customers into your 20%, to your wheelhouse. So many companies do this, a great strategy. But as you grow and as you scale, I always recommend to remain focused. If you're a generalist, you will risk losing sight of your 20%. You will risk neglecting the customers who pay your bills, and you'll risk the competitive advantage that you've built. So as you scale further, your employees will be spread too thin. I always recommend keeping employees' jobs super simple. Okay, they can be really good at 5 tasks. If you start having your employees do 20 tasks, they'll be really crappy at all of them. And the turnover will cripple your business because it's impossible to train someone quickly and effectively how to do 20 things. So keep your operations simple. Specialize, work, and focus in your wheelhouse. It can make sense to offer side products. Absolutely. Take a loss on those to bring in business. That's a great strategy sometimes. But stay focused. You will maximize your advantage and you will minimize your risk.
Hey guys, I have big news. I recently revamped my sales and customer service team at my self-storage company using folks in South Africa. Listen to this English accent.
Hi there, my name is Anton and I'm a sales professional from Gqeberha or Port Elizabeth, which is in the eastern province of South Africa. I've been in sales for about 8 years now with experience in hardware sales with some of the leading brands in the world, such as Canon, Panasonic, and more recently Red Bull.
Okay, now the surprising part. The person you just listened to is available for hire right now, and they're asking $9 an hour. If you want an introduction, if you want to hire this person into your business or at least interview them, send me an email, nick@sweatystartup.com, and I can make an introduction and offer you $1,000 off the recruiting fee. nick@sweatystartup.com.